many things. The important issue is the world revolves around business, society, organizations, individuals, and even religion survives and thrives because of business. Business has to encompass not just financial commodity and service transactions. It has also to include welfare, justice, empowerment, environmental, and other issues too. Every week, Business Matters will delve into aspects of business that impact our lives. We will seek out extraordinary and ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. Facilitators, educators, and entrepreneurs will be invited to inspire and enlighten our listeners. Join Anwar Moolla for an interactive show and find out what really matters in business.
نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Just gone 20 minutes past 7 on a Monday night. Yes, and if it's a Monday night, you on Business Matters with me, Anwar Moolla. Business Matters brought to you by the Minara Chamber of Commerce. I'm indeed very, very honored to have in the studio with me today a lawyer by profession, a mediator, and a person that's certified with the Institute of Directors of South Africa, who also serves on the board of Lifeline KZN. She is none other than ZARINA NOOR MAHOMED. ZARINA, assalamu alaikum and welcome to the studio.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.
ZARINA, thanks for being with us tonight. We're talking about mediation, which is one of your fortes and something that you kind of specialize in as a lawyer. So let's start by setting some sort of a background. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Have you been a Durban girl all your life, and something about what took you to the path of becoming a lawyer?
Thanks so much, Imran. I appreciate it. So Durban girl, born and bred from Durban town. That's where I was. I grew up and decided to study law, and 40 years later, here I am. It's been quite a journey. And then after a while, you do get tired of that, and I found that my niche and my forte and things that I love doing was actually coaching and mediating. So that's how I ended up doing that.
You come from a corporate background, and then
Yes.
later decided to get into kind of what I would term private space or private work.
Yeah.
Some of the differences between corporate work and your own private work, and what led you towards going towards being in your own space rather than being in the corporate space.
So I did start off as a legal advisor in corporate, then started my own practice for about 13 years, and then after that went back into corporate, and 2 years ago started my own business. I think corporate is high paced, and it's a huge steep learning curve. You learn a lot. It's a very nice place to be in, but after a while you do want to pursue your own passions and feel you want to go that way.
Yeah, you talk about being in the field for 40 years.
Yeah.
You don't look old enough to have been in the field for 40 years.
Thank you.
In those days when you first started off as a Muslim female lawyer,
Yes. Yeah.
there must have been many challenges. Can you just tell us about some of those?
First of all, I did get the Best Law Student Award for my final year of law, but I couldn't find articles. With the apartheid and things that were happening in those times, no firm would give you an Indian female articles, and eventually found myself with one of our attorneys in Durban, Ibrahim Goga and company, and that's where I did my articles. But it was tough. It was for all of us at that time. We had to just put your head down and keep going.
So you now run a company called Next Chapter Consulting.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Next Chapter Consulting.
So after my years of corporate and pure law legal work, I decided to branch out, and I did a coaching course. So I offer coaching services, mediation services, and also some legal review if people need that. I've also qualified on the Institute of Directors, so governance, compliance, that kind of work. Yeah.
Excellent. Well done. Let's talk
Thank
a
you.
little bit about tonight's subject. We're talking about mediation in the workplace
Yeah.
rather than going the legal route.
Yeah.
Mediation is something that I see you quite passionate about. You know, the normal course of action would be legal, but nowadays we're finding people more going towards mediation and arbitration. Is it because of the cost factors?
Yeah. So mediation is, yes, it is a form of dispute resolution, and typically or originally what people would do is immediately go to litigation. That's to go to the courts, go to a lawyer, have notices sent up and down between people, and then what litigation does is it polarizes people, and it entrenches positions, and it's hard at the end of a litigation process to actually keep a relationship intact, and it's costly. I mean, it's very costly. It takes a long time. A litigation, a civil dispute in the South African courts now could take you anything from 3 to 5 years to resolve. So you're sitting with this. If anybody's been involved in a litigation matter, they'd tell you that it's mentally draining, it's financially draining, and you don't move on. You know, you sit with the matter. Whereas a mediation is quick, it's cheaper. You maintain the relationship because you find solutions yourself. A mediator won't make a decision or proclaim right or wrong or any of that. A mediator will help the parties to resolve the dispute, finding their own solutions.
Okay, so let's start right at the outset.
Yeah.
What exactly is mediation, and how does it how does it differ from simply negotiating a dispute between two parties?
So a mediation is a process. It's a dispute resolution process in which a mediator, who is an independent third party, will facilitate this process. You have the parties who are in dispute, and this party will bring them together and facilitate the solution. However, a negotiation is slightly different. In a negotiation, there's no independent third party. A negotiation, there might be third parties there, but those would be representatives or agents of the two parties. So that's how it differs.
So in a mediation, you mentioned that there's a independent mediator that would resolve the issue or try to resolve the issue. The first hurdle would be who appoints the mediator, and is that mediator agreeable to both parties? So in a normal course of action, who would appoint this mediator?
So you get the two parties, and if they want to preserve the relationship, if they don't want to go down the litigation rabbit hole, they can approach a mediation association. There are a number of them, or approach a lawyer who can appoint a mediator. It is important, as you said, for him or her to be perceived to be independent. And mediators have their own codes of conduct, and they would not take a matter where they feel they're conflicted. So important to find somebody who's completely independent and who both parties are comfortable with.
Okay. One would imagine that a mediation process is normally not a civil matter. It's more a private matter between individuals, whether it be in the workplace or otherwise. But certainly if it were a civil matter, it would lead more towards the courts.
No, you can use mediation for any matter.
Is it?
Yes.
Even for civil matters?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So a mediator is appointed. The two parties would then, I imagine, present their case in front of the mediator. And would there still be legal representation allowed, or is this now between two independents, if you want to call it that?
So to take it a step back, once they agree that they want to go the mediation route, they sign something called an agreement to mediate.
Right.
And that agreement will set out the rules. That is confidential. the process is completely confidential, that they would respect the rules, respect each other's space, because people come into a mediation sometimes emotionally charged.
Yes.
That they would respect the process and the costs. There are a few things that are agreed in that document, and then they submit themselves to mediation. The mediator will then contact both parties and schedule a venue, and parties come to the mediation, and then there's a joint session where the mediator will briefly talk to both parties. The one party states his or her case, and then the mediator then proceeds to individually speak to each party in different rooms. It's like a shuttle process where you go from room to
so the
room.
one is not present when the other is
There is a brief joint session where they state the case
right.
fully, and the other parties is encouraged not to interrupt the person that's stating the case, and then after that their individual sessions, and the mediator would spend time listening deeply to what the problems are and what the source of conflict is, and trying to, so the mediator won't address it as such, but will facilitate the resolution of the conflict.
Okay, so if the mediator is listening to both parties independently in separate rooms,
Yeah.
How would the one party know if the truth is being spoken on the other side, so to say?
Yeah.
So would it not make more sense, like in a courtroom, for all parties to be present?
You could have the parties present jointly, but you could do that later in the process.
Yeah.
When people come into mediation, they want to be heard.
Right.
And it's important to hear them out. A mediator will understand the person and where they come from, what their background is, spend time understanding that person and understand where the conflict arises. Generally speaking, and then at some point, first of all, I must say to you that these proceedings are confidential.
Sure. All right.
Which means that not only are they confidential in that when the parties will not speak about the mediation process outside of that space, but when a mediator is talking to one of the parties, the mediator may not take any of that information across to the other party without a specific mandate. So when the mediator is listening to this party, the mediator would say, I hear you and I feel that's very important. Do I have your mandate to take this across to the other side? And when the time is appropriate and when I feel it will be appropriate to take that across, and the person would say yes or perhaps no, or perhaps you can follow that on and later on in the process ask again. But what you do is understand each side separately. Generally in a conflict you would find that there's something we call a dignity violation.
Right.
And the thing that mediation addresses, which I feel litigation, although it has its place, does not address, our dignity violations. So in a mediation process, a skilled mediator would understand if there's a dignity violation, would address it, and would sometimes just an apology or a concession or an admission is enough for the other party to let go of whatever they're holding on to and be prepared to resolve the conflict.
Okay, so let's. You've obviously very experienced in this field. So, without mentioning any names or whatever, but typically, give us an example of a dispute that may end up in mediation.
There are disputes that happen in private, personal space. For example, in divorces. And those mediators are specialized family mediators that are aware about the rights of children, and and I'm more on the commercial side.
Yeah. So
on the commercial side, you would find landlord and tenant, a contractor who's come onto your premises and the work is not done properly. Parties in business, for example, a supplier and a business owner, and
It could also be two partners in a business.
oh yes, yeah.
Okay. So we have the mediation process, which you've so eloquently explained. And then we hear of this term called arbitration.
Yes.
What would be the difference between a mediation and an arbitration?
So that's another form of alternate dispute resolution. So you have the litigation process, which is the court process, very expensive, very time consuming, and that's the one side. The other side is you get mediation, which is the middle road, and then you get arbitration. Arbitrations are also adversarial by nature, and arbitrators are appointed by the parties. It's also confidential and private. So as you know, litigation matters in court are in the public domain, whereas arbitration matters are kept private and confidential. So for businesses that have reputational concerns, it's a good arbitration is a good way to go. The other thing about arbitration is that the parties can choose their arbitrator, and especially where you have matters that have particularly difficult or complicated causes of action. For example, there's construction people, there are engineers, you have commercial matters, you have auditors, accountants. There are different types of matters that arise, and in an arbitration the parties can choose a specialist or an expert who would be able to apply their minds to that matter in the best possible way.
So would a arbitrator normally be somebody like an ex-judge or a retired judge or somebody like that?
Yeah, or even an advocate of 10 years or more. You could say, like, we'd like an advocate of 10 years, a senior advocate of more than 15 years experience, and you get engineers that do arbitration. You have lawyers, accountants, auditors that do this. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So an arbitrator could be any specialist that is kind of agreed upon by both parties.
Yeah, and in the case of an arbitration, at the end of the process, an arbitrator would make a decision, which
And
is unlike a mediation. Yeah.
Okay, so there are differences, be they subtle, but as I said, one of the main ones would be a ruling in the case of an arbitration, whereas in a mediation, it would be more about bringing parties together.
Correct.
Okay.
It's expensive as well because, as you can imagine, those arbitrators, they don't come cheap.
Cheap
They're
as well.
expensive. Yeah.
So a mediator will basically hear both cases, sides of the story, as you may say, and then kind of maybe suggest a solution. No, not at all.
Not at all. No, you're not permitted to suggest a solution.
Okay.
As a mediator, you're supposed to let the parties find the solution. It's tricky, and it's can sometimes be painstaking, but it's listening deeply, as I said, and understanding what the nature of the conflict is and addressing those, and then once you get permission or a mandate to pass a piece of information over to the other side, you take it at the right time and you present it to the other party, and you can find resolution. The other part about mediations, which is important, is it's without prejudice. So which means that if the mediation fails at the end of that process, any concession or admission or apology or any of that you make in the mediation process cannot be held against you outside of that process. Okay. So it's a safe space to share, and it gives people an opportunity to find solutions, to generate solutions. It's a good way to resolve a dispute whilst keeping the relationship.
Okay. Can a party be forced into mediation, or is it always a voluntary process?
So it's mostly voluntary, and it's most successful when it's voluntary. However, the courts do mandate mediation now. What's happened is the courts are under such huge pressure because of the backlog in their caseloads that last year, in fact, in the Gauteng, the judge president of the Gauteng, Justice Mlambo, he issued a directive saying that parties must first pursue mediation before coming to court, particularly in road accident fund matters. Because last year, Gauteng was giving court dates for 2030.
Wow.
So imagine waiting 5 years.
The parties could be dead by then.
Yeah. So they do mandate that. It's not always taken well by the legal people. You know, they feel the court would be a better way, but and some people are a group of personal injury lawyers are contesting that directive, but for now it stands, and people are urged to pursue mediation rather than go straight to court.
So what types of business disputes are best suited to mediation rather than going the court route?
I mean, anything and everything. Yeah, when you have disputes, for example, with employees, there you have you could
go to the CCMA.
Yeah, you could do mediation, but you could also have an internal disciplinary. You could go to CCMA. There are different options there, but otherwise, any matter really.
So owner of a business may feel that going to mediation may be a sign of weakness. Would you kind of agree with that?
No, I would. To the contrary, I would say no. It takes courage, to genuinely want to understand the other party's reason for the dispute or where the conflict lies, and to sit and listen or subject yourself to that, and to go through a process whereby you actually maintain the relationship and also the dignity of the parties.
I think if you're going to mediation, let's be honest, the relationship is probably soured by then already.
Yes, people come in there, as I said, emotionally charged, and it is soured to some extent, but because of the intention of both parties to want to mediate, it does soften it a little bit.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it does boil down to intention. If both parties go in with a clear intention, rather than a grudge against the other party or to prove a point, it does make it a lot easier for the mediator.
Definitely, yeah.
So if the parties kind of reach an agreement at a mediation so firstly, I mean, typically how long does a mediation process last?
You could do it you could try to do it in a day. Start at in the morning and finish, not leave till you finish, because when it gathers momentum, you can reach a solution fairly quickly, a day, 2, but try to do it in a day.
Yeah, so you hope at the end of that period, the two parties will kind of kiss and make up and walk away as friends again.
Hopefully, yeah.
So let's take a scenario and play devil's advocate here. That an agreement is reached through a mediation, and then the one party post mediation doesn't honor his side of what was agreed on.
Yeah.
Well, what happens then?
So at the end of a mediation which is successful, there should be something called a settlement agreement, which both people sign.
Right.
And that settlement agreement has the same weight as a contract. So if one person then reneges on that settlement agreement, it is breach of contract.
So it will be legally enforceable?
Yeah, it is legally enforceable, yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So, I mean, if you walk away agreeing on something and the mediator then draws up this contract which both parties sign, you're then bound by it.
Yeah.
So, in kind of concluding what we're talking about, and it's now, I mean, we now know that there is a process called a mediation process which people can go to. So if there's a problem and two parties are having this difficulty, and what is the first step? Who do they turn to? I mean, they need a mediator. Would they come to somebody like yourself and say, help us on this, or how does it work?
I mean, they could, and obviously, I mean, the mediator cannot be conflicted. And you could go to your attorney, because an attorney would have access to panels of mediators. Or approach Mediation Institute.
So, I mean, they would be attorneys, but the attorneys, by their very nature, would want to go the litigation route. No disrespect to attorneys, but they would make more fees by going the litigation route. So they would maybe suggest that route. I hope my friend Aslam Ayat's listening, so he's going to take me to task with this. But the thing is, if once you go mediation, as you say, the cost factor is a lot less. They sometimes would be attorneys there, but very often maybe not, because if the two parties decide that they want to do it themselves. What practical advice would you give to business owners and entrepreneurs to help them manage a conflict early and know when it's time to engage a professional mediator before a dispute escalates?
Yeah, exactly. You've exactly what you've said. That when you notice that there's a dispute occurring and that it is affecting productivity or affecting your business, to rather deal with it sooner rather than later, rather than waiting until emotions harden and positions are entrenched and it affects the parties. Then rather do it sooner rather than later.
Okay. Zarina, while we're chatting to you, just trying to get Ibrahim Patel on the line, because he's going to be talking to us about, is he here? Okay, Ibrahim's going to join us in the studio shortly to give us a brief update. There is he walking in now about so Ibrahim is going to give us an update about the Minara Business Awards. So he's got I hope some exciting news for us tonight. But just in concluding, Zarina, give us some parting words of advice that you would give to businesses, to entrepreneurs, if they see a dispute starting to happen. How can they quickly nip it in the bud and turn to mediation?
Yeah, I mean, instead of rushing off to a lawyer and getting notices and letters sent from one party to the other, consider mediation. Consider a better way of resolving it, and something that will maintain the relationship and will give you a lasting or more sustainable solution to your problem.
Okay. Zarina, if somebody's got a problem, they want some advice on the mediation, how can they contact you?
You can contact me on my cell. It's 082-494-1914, or else on email, zarina.noormohammed@gmail.com.
That's zarina.noormohammed@gmail.com. Noor Mohammed being one word.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Zarina, thanks so much for sharing and your insight in the mediation process. Is there anything you want to add on, or have we kind of covered everything?
No, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in. Zarina is going to remain with us for the next few minutes while I have a person that needs no introduction, Mr. Ibrahim Patel, in the studio. Ibrahim, the Minara Awards, they come up very quickly each year. I think end of October is the date. You have some news for us on the nominations, I think.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Anwar. I don't know whether it was because of your studio guest this evening or yourself, but there's quite a lot of people that are outside the studio.
Yeah, I see the parking lot's full. I don't know if Zarina brought the whole fan base with her tonight.
I had to park on the other property and walk all the way down. But Anwar, shukran, thanks for the opportunity this evening to talk about the Minara Business Awards. As you know, it's an annual award where we recognize excellence in the business community, and particularly in the South African Muslim business community. The excellence being those that have been in business for some time, have been growing their businesses. And the idea is not only to recognize those individuals or those businesses, but also to use them as a means of motivating to others to emulate the successes. So, it's almost as if someone else could do it, I can also be inspired to do so. And so the business awards have been going on, as you know, for 14 years now. Very successful. Last year was our 25th anniversary of the chamber itself. We had quite a good turnout. And the number of awardees and recipients each year, they quality of it is increasing every year. And so we expand the pool of nominees from across the entire South Africa. So, in the past we've had majority of the nominees coming from KZN, but now we've seen quite a lot from the Western Cape and from Gauteng. And that's particularly due to also the formalization of our chapters in Gauteng and the Western Cape. So the good news is that the Minara Business Awards nomination period was supposed to have closed on the 31st of July. We've had a number of people that reached out to us to say that they still want to be nominated, or they would like to send nominations, and particularly from outside of the major cities. And so the board has decided to extend the nomination period to the 15th of August to accommodate those requests. So nominations are still open.
Okay,
the
excellent.
nomination period has been extended to the 15th of August, and so we will still invite nominations. Whoever has not submitted nominations, or you're thinking about submitting the nominations in the various categories, and we'll go across the categories in a moment, you still have the opportunity till the 15th of August. So that's the announcement that we want to make this evening.
Okay. Ibrahim, also what amazes me and very pleasantly each year is that there's more people coming through from more diverse backgrounds, so to speak. I mean, it's nice to see our people getting into fields that we never even heard of before or never were exposed to before. So, you're getting this coming through now, where in the past kind of Muslim community, very clothing orientated, or very, doctors, lawyers kind of thing. We got ZARINA sitting here, so we can mention lawyers. But the thing is, now we're seeing our people getting into very diverse fields, and it's really so nice to see that.
So yes, of course, it was the old argument was that the South African Muslim business community was predominantly the corner store, the clothing store, clothing manufacturers. And now we are seeing a plethora of industries that have come through. So last year, one of our winners was Valternative. And Valternative is a startup company that has been growing in the alternate electrical vehicle space. And so you've seen a number of their motorcycles all over. They've done a deal with Uber recently, where they're now supplying Uber with electric vehicles. So you'd be able to catch an Uber on an electric vehicle, which is supplied by Valternative. And the model that they've created is phenomenal. So we've seen these kind of innovative businesses coming out of the community, and the diversification is fantastic. We've seen young engineers, AI engineers that we now have. Instead of just the traditional accountant, lawyers and doctors, we now seen AI engineers. We've seen people that are in diverse fields. And so Hyperion was one of the winners at many years ago. Young lad from Durban, who's created these systems that is now being used by Google, and is now one of the leading guys with Google. And so we've seen this diversity that's coming across, and so that is fascinating for me, that we've now matured beyond the corner store, the supermarkets, and the clothing stores.
Absolutely. And not to mention, you said the different categories, but women are recognized, and so are young entrepreneurs.
So let me just quickly go through the categories. We have the Business Enterprise of the Year, which is in three sectors. You have large business, medium business, and small business. These recognize the actual businesses themselves. So, it can be a particular business, a well-known brand. So it recognizes the business itself. Then we have the Business Person of the Year, which recognizes the individual who's running the business. And that does not necessarily mean that they're running a business that they own, because we've had Riaz Hafaji, who was CEO of Apollo and is now Vice President of Toyota, who was a Business Person of the Year. Even though he did not run his own business, he was running a corporate, and we recognize the fact that was a business person. And we've introduced the Business Woman of the Year, which recognizes women who are running their businesses, and that could be across any type of business. And then we have the Professionals, which recognizes lawyers, doctors, engineers, accountants, and the rest. So these recognize the profession themselves. And then the Young Entrepreneur recognizes those that have started off their businesses, are doing it phenomenally well. And then the final category is the Community Builder. And this is something that we recognize as a person who is giving off of themselves, not out of an NGO, but of their own goodwill that they're giving off to the community and helping the community and assisting the community out of their good nature. So we've had a number of individuals that have been recognized. Marhum Shuaib Musa from Woollerton was recognized as one of those community builders because of the good that he had done for the community. And so it's not just recognizing business, but it's also recognizing commitment to the community as well. Let me be very clear about two aspects which are very important. One is that the nominations are only open to those who are South African, so South African businesses and South African individuals. And this has always been the stance from the start of the awards up to now. The second is it's not confined to what one would term the Indian community. It's across all. So we've had people like Salim Banda, who was one of the winners in one of the years. We've had Mariam Chipa, who was a female in the construction industry, who was the winner of the Businesswoman of the Year in 2019. And so the diversity across the entire community is there as well.
And your sponsors for this year?
Again, Standard Bank is our key partner, and they've come on board with us. Again, we value that partnership with Standard Bank. They are our main sponsor, the platinum sponsor for the awards. And we have other sponsors that are coming on board as well.
Okay. Coming back to the Community Builder Awards, and I see that you guys also recognize the charitable organizations and the valuable role that individuals within those charitable organizations are playing as well as part of the Community Builder.
So the Community Builder is the individual themselves, not the NGO.
Right.
The reason why we've gone on to the individual, because we have a number of unsung heroes in the community who give off of themselves but are not attached to any particular NGO. And so we want to recognize the fact that the philanthropy plays a very big part of the community. So we recognize that. So encourage people to get more involved in community work as well.
And Ibrahim, will you show me that you'll get a new suit for this year's
I'm
function?
waiting for you to send me the suit.
Oh, okay, yeah. My doors are open, Ibrahim. Anytime for you, yeah.
Last year, you promised me a suit, so I'm waiting for this.
I'll keep to that promise. Okay. Thanks, Ibrahim, for joining us. Thank you, Zarina, for being with us and sharing your insight on the mediation process. And looking forward, Ibrahim, some parting words from you?
Yes. So if you want to nominate, nomination process is quite simple. The form is available on our website, www.minara.org.za. Download the form, fill it in and send it through. Or you could email it through to kzn@minara.org.za.
Okay. Have you guys decided on a venue for
the venue? Is the NMJ Hall, as usual, because of its location and its
also its size.
Yeah. So, that's always the best option that we have in Durban. And the date is at the end of October. So it's Friday, the 24th of October.
I think the venue was moved to Orient for 1 year and then now moved back to
and we're quite happy with the NMJ venue, yes.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, looking forward to that. One of the evenings that I particularly look forward to. I wasn't in the country last year, so I missed out on that. But
is that why you didn't bring my suit?
That's exactly why I didn't give it. But yeah, this year you get your new suit. So let's you probably and the judging process. I mean, it's a completely independent, unbiased judging process.
The judging panel is a totally independent judging panel. The directors of Minara or the officials of Minara do not get involved in the judging process. So once the nominations are submitted to the secretariat, it's handed over to the judges. They go through all the documentation. They will call for extra information if required, and they follow the judging process. So they have a set of criteria, and it's a very formal judging process.
Okay, so I can't see anybody right to kind of make a plan, so to speak.
No.
Okay.
And very importantly, even as the directors of Minara, we don't know who the winners are until the day of the awards themselves.
Okay, excellent.
So don't phone me and ask me if you're a winner.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for that, Ibrahim. Thanks for filling us in. We'll get you into the studio at some later stage to talk about the nominees once the nominees have been announced. And but every year the nomination list just gets better and better. And
it does.
So yeah. And for those that are out there that want, or don't be scared to nominate yourself, even if you want to be in a category. I mean, I'm sure you can do that.
Nominations can be self-nominations. You can nominate an uncle, an auntie, a friend. It can be friends nominating each other. So the nomination process is very simple. The nominee needs to sign the acceptance. The nominator signs that they've nominated the person, and the nominee signs the acceptance and sends it through to us.
Absolutely. And I think just being nominated, even if you don't win on the night, is in itself a feather in everybody's cap.
We've seen a number of businesses who, because they were nominated, have seen brand integration and brand awareness increase. And so you see even the winners are now finding themselves being more market aware, and the markets become very much aware of them. One of our nominees last year and winners last year, Tropic Plastic, was this year nominated for the KZN Business Awards and was a winner on the KZN Business Awards. So it increases their profile for those businesses.
Yeah, and I think if I go back to 2 or 3 years ago, I think Pedro's was one of the nominees as well.
Pedro's
and
was
see
one of
where
the
they're going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were actually the winners in their category.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, Ibrahim, thank you for that. Thank you, Zarina, once again. I think that's my program for tonight. In next week, Monday being a public holiday, I'm not too sure whether there's a show on, but definitely we'll be back with you in 2 weeks' time, inshallah, on another Business Matters program. Once again, Business Matters brought to us by the Minara Chamber of Commerce, and we thank them for that. And from me, Anwar Moolla, it's wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Business Matters. The title suggests many things. The important issue is the world revolves around business, society, organizations, individuals, and even religion survives and thrives because of business. Business has to encompass not just financial commodity and service transactions. It has also to include welfare, justice, empowerment, environmental, and other issues too. Every week, Business Matters will delve into aspects of business that impact our lives. We will seek out extraordinary and ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. Facilitators, educators, and entrepreneurs will be invited to inspire and enlighten our listeners. Join Anwar Moolla for an interactive show and find out what really matters in business.
Teaching you something new every day. Radio Al Ansar.
Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031 306 4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickfield Road, Overport. Simple.